So I stole some space on the power strip inside the cabinet, and I've now got some power out here. But I'm going to do one very important thing before I plug in these controllers, and that is read those operating instructions. Ah, shucks! Too excited. Let's go ahead and try it. So whatever the original settings are is where we started out at, and you can see there's a little bit of movement in the tank at the moment. I've no idea what those settings are, and I'm going to go through and play around and see what works, what doesn't work, so I can set up the best thing for the tank. But I can only see this as improving things. So we've been playing around a little bit with the controllers, trying to determine or interpret the description inside the operating manual as to what the various settings do, and this wasn't real helpful. Basically it was just kind of turn it on and start pushing buttons and figuring it out. I again don't have all of it done, but I do have on the blue side here, this is some kind of a Wi-Fi lock, and it allows you to link via Wi-Fi more than one device, so that one becomes the controller, or in this case called the master, and the other one becomes the slave, which is the one that does what the big guy says. And you can link more than one unit together. I'm not sure how many, but you could link multiple units together to produce a simultaneous flow. And I think this has something to do with harmonics. I haven't figured out everything on here yet. And as a matter of fact, the speed part, the green button here, I have yet to exactly figure out what it does. But in the red button, which is the modes, I kind of have it figured out. So let's just briefly go through this. This is the master here. Okay, so I'm over here in W1, which is a quick pulse, quick short pulses, and given enough time, it'll set up a oops, okay, see, there's something that I've been anticipating happening, so let me rescue that coral right now. I'm best off just putting it down on the bottom, because unless I secure it with some putty or something, it's just going to fall again. So I'm going to move that right back here. That should be fairly safe. Can't fall if you're already on the bottom. And that is one of my concerns, is when you create these much stronger flow patterns within inside the tank, things that you've not secured are going to come tumbling down, and I've lost a number of corals because they tumble down. And it's one of the things that I tell potential reef tank service customers, the ones who just want to look at and not really get involved, is that they kind of have to be involved. You've got to be able to rescue corals that are in a bad way, because if they're going to wait for the service guy to show up, then it's probably not going to make it, or a big portion of it isn't. that soft coral's now moved down over here. He's not sitting 100% properly, but I have a funny feeling I'm going to end up trying to move him, because that's an open spot, but this green bubble is so feisty. He's got the long tentacles, and you can see that he's killed off that tubenaria.
So, your cool nano reef tank is doing great, but you've got an algae problem? Consider the drop from Santa Monica Filtration. 7 sizes to easily fit into the filter compartment of most nano tanks. And just like their bigger cousins, the Hog and the Surf, all use air bubbles and LED light technology to grow algae. Algae that consumes nutrients. And that algae replaces itself at no new cost to you. For more information on Santa Monica Filtration's Drop, Hog, and Surf Algae Scrubbers, visit santa-monica.cc.
Hi there, my name's Jim Stime, and you know me as the LA Fish Guy. Well, I also wear a couple of other hats. One of them is the jellyfish tank called the Jelly Aquarium, and the third is myfishtank.com. I offer an entire line of acrylic aquariums ranging from rectangular to hexagon, flatback hex, as well as the custom curve front aquariums. There's also an entire line of stands and canopies ranging from MDF to pine to oak, with a variety of different finishes available. And the website is even smart enough that you can calculate what the freight and crate charges to your location will be. That's myfishtank.com.
Reef Hobbyist magazine believes that our hobby, our fellow hobbyists, and the animals in our care are best served by the free distribution of quality information. Reef Hobbyist magazine provides hobbyists with critical husbandry information with an emphasis on marine ornamental breeding efforts. Reef Hobbyist magazine is available for free in local fish stores across the country, or you can subscribe at www.reefhobbyistmagazine.com.
The first position, it seems to be these short little pulses. You then jump to the next level, which is kind of a strong, solid flow from each one. Then there seems to be 2 more levels above that of radical strength. And so there's a lot of water moving around inside the aquarium. And this is the point where a few interesting things occur. First of all, corals, if they're not secure, are going to fall down. Number 2, debris that have settled down behind and on the underside of corals are going to get swept up. Number 3, corals, such as the green bubble, are going to interpret that as feeding time, and their response to that is to send out those long mycentral tentacles, which is what they use to sting their food with. But there are some other very interesting things, and a lot of it depends on the type of fish you have in the tank. And if you've been paying attention at all, I have a few different type of cardinal fish in the tank. I have no Banggai cardinals. They're really cool, but I'm just not successful in keeping them. This is a pair of high fin cardinals, or blue cheek, some people might call them. They're basically just kind of a silver, but they had this really beautiful hue about them that kind of glows in the right kind of light. Some people might call them a tetra, but aside from maybe not their wild coloration, they have a really unique social structure inside the tank. Now, what's interesting is this is, I'm not going to call it a pair, but one of them is holding eggs for sure. And that's one of the unique things about cardinal fish is their mouth brooders. It's the far one, the one on the bottom of the screen. He's the one that's got the mouth full of eggs. You can see him jostle those in his mouth every once in a while. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus in on him. And anyhow, what's interesting about cardinal fish is, again, they're mouth brooders. The male carries the eggs in his mouth, and then they hatch, and then he releases them. Banggai cardinal fish are the poster child for mouth brooders in the saltwater aquarium hobby. They reproduce just left and right. What's ironic, though, is there's a lot of other cardinal fish that do the same thing, and yet you don't see that reproductive aspect of it occurring in home aquariums. I'm not sure why. Maybe because they're just not as attractive and people aren't keeping them, or what. But in addition to those high fin cardinals, there's also about 6 pajama cardinals in the tank, large ones too. And they too have eggs that they carry around with them. And you can see here there's a pair jousting quite possibly for dominance in the tank, which kind of brings me to another point, and that is there's a hierarchy amongst all of those fish inside groups or schools, which is why one of the reasons why it's hard to keep schooling fish, because the big guy always wants to stay the big guy, and he's putting down the littler guy, so there's always a declining population. But there's 5 or 6 pajama cardinal fish in the tank. There's also these orange line cardinals. They've got an interesting social structure, and I don't recall how many are in the tank at the moment, but 3 maybe. They again, being cardinal fish, have a unique social structure. I think there's one over here, yeah. So anyhow, one of the things that I've noticed with this really strong flow in the tank is that it's forcing these fish to kind of come out into their schooling habits. The reason fish school is for 2 reasons. Defensive, mostly. The bigger the group, the less easy someone's going to be able to single out one individual or even attempt to go after a large school. So it's really a defensive strategy. When the fish are not feeling defensive, such as in an aquarium, they don't school. Here, the increased flow kind of catches them off guard a little bit, so feeling a little less comfortable, they tend to cluster or school. And it also tends to bring out, again, some of the social aspects of them. So I got way off the subject here, but that was one of the things that I did notice. The other thing that I noticed in here was, as the various water flow patterns change, the fish just adapt to it. We're in the high flow phase, and you can see it's really pushing away on that anemone, and yet that's a patch of eggs right there on the right-hand corner of the screen that the male is looking at. You know, and he's not going to leave. He just swims a little harder, swims a little faster to stay within that water flow pattern. So that was one of the things that I noticed right away. So I'm going to go over here and switch into what appears to be a pulsing, but it's more of a long, strong pulse. And this is the one I think that sets up the large kind of cresting wave in the tank. And you have to kind of wait for these 2 pumps to develop a harmonious reflection of water between the 2 of them. And then you'll begin to see a nice little pitch that occurs, or a crest that occurs, and then everything kind of goes into what I'll call the hula hula, where it just kind of goes left, goes right, goes up, goes down, goes left, goes right, goes up, goes down, and just kind of shakes back and forth. And it's got a lot of benefits to it. You can kind of see here how it's affecting that big bubble coral. And that's beneficial to all the, not only just the fish, but to the corals as well, because this is how they get their food, how they get rid of their waste. It causes the polyps to extend further out, to reach out and grab more food. This one back here is unhappy, but this flow seems to have made him improve a little bit. So far I'm pleased with the flow inside the tank, and it wasn't all that difficult to install at all. Granted, mine is on a thing out in front of the tank, but hey, I'm a fish guy, and I can have fish stuff wherever I want. Sort of. But ultimately this will be placed into the cabinet and such. I just have some updates I want to be doing, and I also wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing before I put this on film. But we experienced it together, so you saw it as I saw it. The speed control, that part I have yet to figure out. I'll have to play around with that a little bit more. So the red button I got figured out, the green button I have not, the blue button I believe I have, and the knob, that part I haven't figured out either. So play around with it a little bit more and see where we go from there.